What? Grand, yes! Putin, hurrah! Let's go! Is what a lot of backward Indonesians would say. Indonesians have a lot of love for Russia, which goes back in history. The Soviets and Indonesia were very chummy, and our first president allegedly respected an entire plane of Russian stewardesses. Fucking legend. They are culturally very close to us, but most importantly is that they hate the US, just like us. Indonesian sympathy for Russia in the modern age stems back all the way to 9/11. A lot of Indonesians were outraged that the US invaded Afghanistan and Iraq for seemingly no reason, which were Muslims' country that Indonesia had sympathized with.
Most Indonesians forget Russia invaded Afghanistan in the 1980s and Iraq in World War II.
Russia denounced the invasion, and ever since then, Indonesians have been even more sympathetic towards Russia. And Russia is considered an ally of Islam, despite it being Orthodox. Indonesians idolize Putin. Indonesia is still a very patriarchal society in some parts of the country. The image of a strong man rings favorable in lots of Indonesians' hearts and minds, making it easier for Putin to rizz up our people with his pecs. At least it encourages our people to start lifting. The thing is, Russia is a complete hellhole with a miserable history. Its weather is cold, the people are too, and all it does is throw people by the millions to win wars or a famine. Wrong! Lies, lies, and lies. All of these are Western lies. We must expose the truth about Russia. Russia is the land of eternal happiness and glorious history where everything is just perfect. I think that's not the Russian accent. The weather is always fair and the people are just so delightful. They love their country so much that they're practically lining up to throw away their lives away in a delightful little meat grinder called war. How utterly splendid. Who wouldn't want to be such a part of such a charming and idyllic place? Russia is a utopia. Good food made mostly out of potatoes, beautiful women that are either athletes and spies, babushka that will take care of your every need, leaders that work for the best interests of the people and totally aren't indulging in nation-ruining corruption schemes, and best of all, vodka. Vodka for breakfast, for lunch and dinner. You get a vodka. Everybody gets a vodka. Most of these are very appealing to Indonesians and they can see its similarities. I mean, look at how Russians and Indonesians hang out. Some Indonesians actually want to be gopniks, I feel. Ironically, most of these gopnik wannabes are more better than Chad gopniks. So they become vatniks instead. A discount Walmart version of gopniks who wears Uniqlo and Pull & Bear instead of Adidas. Indonesia officially condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine as an act of war and genocide. I mean, when your friend is going a little crazy sometimes, it's just best to keep a safe distance from them, just to save your skin. Kinda like what China is doing right now. But the Indonesian netizens do not waver their support for their Slavic overlords, praising Putin and expressing support for the Russian invasion to kill as many Ukrainian soldiers and to retake what is most important to Russians, the washing machine. Indonesians somehow think it's Ukraine's fault for getting themselves invaded. That's the definition of victim blaming. They believe that Russia invading Ukraine is an act of resistance towards global imperialism perpetrated by the United States and the West, and that we Indonesians must support it. Let's ask what our founding fathers would think of this.
It holds true in our endeavors we must be directed towards the eradication of colonialism and imperialism, be it extending assistance to the nation in need or providing material aid in their fight for self-determination, which is imparted within the preamble of our Constitution. Whereas the independence is inalienable right of all nations, and therefore colonialism must be abolished in the world as it is not in conformity with humanity and justice. However, to what purpose does Russia pursue the invasion of foreign lands, violating their sovereignty and endangering the Ukrainian populace? How can such actions justify Russia's pursuit of integrity and freedom when they come at the cost and expense of Ukrainian lives? If we genuinely uphold our constitutional values, we must strive to lend support to nations oppressed beneath the weight of foreign dominion. What precludes the existence of Russian imperialism in any form or guise? In doing so, we would merely assist one imperial power in supplanting another.
Thank you for your wisdom, oh venerable old one. As what our forefathers said, how is invading Ukraine a way for Russia to fight the West or against Western imperialism? The narrative that Russia is invading Ukraine to fight the United States is utter bullshit and needs to be re-evaluated. We should have the capacity to think. If Russia wants to fight the US that bad, why don't they just fight each other over in Alaska? There's nothing inherently wrong with supporting either Ukraine or Russia, similar to how people choose sides in a Barca versus Madrid match. However, I believe those who support Russia and idolize Putin for their actions are just as misguided as those South Dakota kids who boast, "Oh, America is so my country," while flaunting their Balenciagas and wishing the world to mimic California and how the NBA is the best sports league ever. Although Indonesians support Russia, there is a sizable number of Indonesians who also support and sympathize with the Ukrainians. Mostly from the super haughty academic types that goes to Binus University, University of Indonesia, and Pelita Harapan University. They mostly support Ukraine without knowing Ukraine has been bombing the fuck out of Donbass and Luhansk for 7 years straight. But yeah, to a lot of you, too lazy to read. Ukraine is not part of Russia. It was back in the Soviet Union, but Ukraine and Russia are two different things. They share the same alphabet, the Cyrillic alphabet, but they aren't mutually intelligible. Most Russians and Ukrainians can understand 20 to 30% of what they're saying. Ukrainians apparently trace back their cultural history to Kievan Rus, while Russia trace back their cultural history to Novgorod and Moscow. Yes, they might be cousins, but saying Ukraine belongs to Russia is like saying the Philippines belongs to Indonesia, or Indonesia belongs to Malaysia.
Stupid.
So don't be stupid. Don't embarrass our country with your ignorance. On behalf of my people, I apologize that we often say the most dumbest shit in YouTube comments. Now, you could say Ukrainians and Russians should be one people, but as the highly racist US President Woodrow Wilson said, nations have the right of self-determination. And I agree with what he says. That we should segregate the Russians and the Ukrainians in two separate countries. Anyways, I know some of you die-hard fatniks are gonna talk shit in the comment section, but if you want to argue, find a better argument than to resort to whataboutism. The argument that the United States or the West invaded other countries and nobody stopped them does not justify Russia invading Ukraine. It doesn't address any issue. If anything, it makes you sound like you condone warfare and something is wrong with your head. Get it fixed. If you truly want to stop these fighting, then you need to address all of these issues all at once, instead of nitpicking cases. So be a rusbot as much as you like, but be a smart rusbot.